Wild Side.
Tell me about it, please, if you can, from your point of view as the director.
Well, it's a feminist drama. Do you mind if I speak English?
Please.
Because you know, I'm from London, and my wife is American, and she's a very gifted writer. She's very young, and she's very got a lot to say. And it's Wild Side is a woman's story. She calls it the Boys Club. From the eyes of a girl who has got a lot to lose, or something like that. The girl has got a lot to lose, being a girl who works in a bank and gets into a tough spot and has to moonlight as a part-time call girl, as she says, for purely economic reasons. Okay, that's the story. It starts right there. It's a girl's story. You really, with this girl, it's a really very, very energetic and ambitious young American girl with a lot of idealism, and she works in an office. She works in a bank. She's like, I guess, millions of young American women, and she just makes a decision to go out on the wild side, just to save a mortgage, to save her house from being repossessed. She gets into a jam financially. She has a bad scene with her boss at the bank, who's, you know, leans on her. She's a smart young girl, and she's pretty, and so she is. That's two strikes against you in an office, right? To be smart and pretty at the same time. And to get out of that situation with her house, that's what she does. And she almost makes it. She almost makes the money she needs. Then she runs into a client. That client is named Bruno. She literally runs in, you know. It's like a collision course, because Bruno describes himself as a force of nature, but he's also a force of financial power. And he's a banker too. She works in a bank, but he's a guy who was a real big-time banker, and still is. He works solo, and he's got on the wrong side, the dark side of banking. Dark side of banking, with multi-million dollars, maybe billions of dollars of money laundering. Nothing to do with drugs or anything like that. It's just money that needs to be dealt with and treated to keep it out of the hands of the IRS, out of the hands of the feds, pharmaceutical companies, scams. He's involved in trying to get a little money, which for him, a little money moved out of a bank in Los Angeles, $169 million, that somehow the feds got an angle on. And he has clients, and he comes just to deal with this situation. And he wants a good time, and he has a call girl stop by. So I guess there you have that is maybe, there's very little coincidence in this story, a very real life story, I think. I see it as a very real life story. You have a young girl who works in a bank who meets a banker who's seen it all, you know, like the big money laundering bank,
and
you know.
Looking for experience.
Well, she wasn't looking for experience. She was looking simply to turn a trick, $1,500 trick, and she meets this guy. And that's, the rest of the story, I guess you'll have to go to the movies to find out. But it's a collision between this guy, that's Christopher Walken, in the performance of his life. Great performance. Funny as shit, too. Like real bankers. And that's Annie Hesh, who's young and very, very, very gifted young actress. Very gifted. And she's also, she's extremely attractive. But being attractive is not the first principle or purpose of Annie's life. She's one of the most focused and like a laser on acting. Her skill is phenomenal, and it's all packaged in a way so it seems light. It just comes out of her. She's simply there. And as this banker, she's a very bright young actress, and she's researched this part absolutely through and through. And she's totally, let's say, believable. That's a good start.
Okay.
It's a good start, right? you can believe this girl works in a bank. When you see her in the bank, you know, and then you can believe that I guess that she takes this rather drastic step to earn money. When you're in a bank and you get in debt. This is incidentally based on a real thing that happened to a real young banker who I happened to be a friend of a friend in New York, and who did exactly the same thing. Joan Chen is as part of the world that Annie finds herself. Her character is called Alex Lee. Her father's, she comes from Long Beach, incidentally. This is in a Long Beach bank, and her dad was part of the whole world of Long Beach shipping and industry, which took some dents with the, you know, the economic chaos in the late 80s, closing the huge defense, Douglas aircraft, McDonnell. Her father was a victim of that and got early retired. So she has a kind of fractured family history as a character. And the other woman is Joan, who's Chinese, and is a woman who is Bruno, the Christopher Walken, the heavy-duty banker, the multimillionaire who is playing with money and is very much, this character Bruno likes cleaning dirty money. He says, listen, you want to have power over money, you've got to hate it. He says, I hate money. He says, that's why I have power over it. And so he's a philosophy about power and money, and it's very convincing. His wife is Chinese, and she's a beautiful young woman he fell in love with, has been with him for years. Sophisticated Chinese woman who lived in America. That's her role. And so she tries not to pay any attention to the kind of, say, the dark side of her husband's life. She travels with him, and she sees the jet set, the society world. And she loves him, but the marriage is on the rocks. That's, in fact, so much so that Bruno has divorced her and then decided he still wants her, and now she's his girlfriend. And she says, our love life is so fantastic now, you know. She says, we call it our dangerous liaison, you know. She's frivolous, she seems frivolous, but she's not. She's a little pissed off with Bruno.
Stephen Bauer.
And Stephen Bauer is his driver. He drives the Mercedes 500 V12 sedan, you know, the custom, his sedan of the moment, and she's been with Bruno for a while. And Bruno inherited him from some people in Miami, probably Meyer Lansky land. You see, Bruno and Meyer Lansky would have the same kind of background, you know. They know the same kind of people. They know the biggest bankers, they know the Donald Trumps, they know, Bruno knows Alan Greenspan, treats him as his pal, but he also knows some of the people who finance the mafia, you know. So Bruno, Tony, his driver, is his bodyguard and takes care of and is a very loyal, devoted man. That's Stephen Bauer, who's in another terrific performance. Okay. Yeah, the theme is the one I mentioned before. It's looking at the man's world through the eyes of a fairly aware and hip young American woman. It's the way that you have two men here who are maybe, they're extremes in many ways, but they're both real men. You know, and one is a powerful financial money launderer, if you like, but he's a banker. He's a guy who is the world of finance and money is what he likes, power and money. He knows everybody. He's had a very colorful life in that area. And the guy working for him is a guy probably who's from the streets. He's a Cuban. Steve is a Cuban, and he's got a lot of. Steve is a very intelligent actor. He's one of the most intelligent actors I've known, and I have here two of the most intelligent actors I've known. You're looking at guys who see all the colors and sides of human nature, not just of the actors. They really know human nature, and that's what you're seeing, that portrayal. One is a street guy, I guess. I'm not going to tell you too much about Tony, because it's giving away the story, and that I'm not going to do. What happens to these guys? But he's a driver. He's hard as nails. He's a powerful man. He packs two pistols. He's got a he carries a .357 Magnum in his belt just for Bruno's protection, and he has his Kevlar vest on at all times. He says, "I'm your loyal Tony." He says, "Me, I'll step between you and harm's way, Mr. Bruno." Wonderful uniform. He likes Bruno's always saying, "Wear your cap." He's got a beautiful uniform, you know. And you're looking at a 200-pound star quarterback in Steve Bauer. He's a very physical guy. It's not that different. It's not that different. When I've learned a lot, even though times when I haven't been able to make films. I've constantly worked writing in films and doing some videos and stuff like that. But basically, it's not much different from the way I felt about what I was doing or tried to do when I made Performance like 20 years ago, you know? Which is, in many ways, this film, people have pointed out to me, is sort of echoing stuff there, and I'm not even conscious of it. I prepare everything, write it, you know, as much as I need to, but in this case, I got Chino to take over and do that, you know, the dialoguing and stuff. And then I'm very, what you call anal about preparation, but at a certain point, I just start winging it on my instincts. And I'm working in a very, what you'd call an European mode, because I've found a truly great cameraman. And next to the stars, movies are made simply by cameramen. I mean, they're made by cameramen. Everything I do has to be put on film by a man who can use his eye and his technique to translate what I'm doing. And I was a painter, you know. I spent my whole life visually. So I see things in terms of the camera. And I found a guy here who's from Central Europe, from Croatia. He's only been here. I say found him because he was an immigrant from war-torn Croatia. And he's just a superb artist who has great technical depth from learning his trade in Czechoslovakia, Prague, Warsaw, when he was a kid, a scholarship. He was just one of the best young film craftsmen of his time. And then he came to America. Where else? And I happen to be the guy who found, that's Sead Moharovic, whom you've met. And I give him credit for a great deal of what's being done here. His great skill, one of the great handheld cameramen. He's got this art. And he's a 200-pound athlete, and he knows how to handle a camera, as well as he has the vision and the feeling for light. He's got all the ingredients of being a real great. So I hope he gets all the work there is simply putting it on film, you know, which is beautiful. It's looking good too. It's looking juicy, yeah.